and I'm actually very excited for your journey ahead. It's a special time ahead. And I think if I could have known what I know now, quite some ages up front or ongoing, and the things that I've learned then, I would have most probably done some things different. And so hopefully these little seeds can grow on you, and they can deliver some insight and some opportunity for you to reflect towards what you're going to do in your life. Because I think the values and the things that I've learned can really benefit you across the board, whatever the choices that you're going to do, whether you're going to work for somebody, whether you're going to be your own boss, as I am, whether you're going to go into media or digital, whatever it is, these things I think are the pillars that I found for myself that attribute to the success that I have today. So I'm Wilko, and I'm an entrepreneur. So I'm a business owner, and I'm a digital media specialist. In my young days, I used to own a leading digital, so this is just some background that you understand who I am and where I come from. I've followed many paths, and I've studied in the hospitality industry. I've also got a marketing bachelor, so a degree in marketing, BCom. But that's not what I do now. I specialize in digital media, so anything to do with software and technologies is what I literally specialize in. And how I learned this was by doing. And the best people that work for me and with me are actually guys that are self-taught. And we're going to speak about that in a second. But some history is I used to own a company called Intouch. We pretty much the guys behind everything you see at MTC, or used to be, which is the vending machine, the queuing system, their app, their website. So you can see there's a broad range of what we call digital touch points that we were involved in. And we did everything locally. So one of the things we pride ourselves on, or did, was that we built and conceptualized, because that's one process of this digital media field, is the UI or UX, user interface, user experience. We conceptualized that and we brought that to life ourselves. We developed the technology, we built it up to the screen and the little system. Have you ever been into an MTC shop, some of you? You know, the little queuing system or the vending machine that sells you airtime, etc. So that pretty much was what we did. And I sold that company many years ago. Today, I run a Fintech, a financial technology entity. It's a very modern term in today's world. Everything is moving into this space, is financial technology. Cryptocurrencies, the banking world of today is completely changing. And financial technology entities are the ones that are the catalysts for, and the development catalysts for this new evolution or phase of payments or payment instruments. So typically you'll see that people are not paying with their bank cards anymore, they're paying with what we call wallets, or their phones, their mobile devices. Okay? People are not using traditional cash anymore, they're using coins, digital coins, assets. It's quicker, it's easier, it's more efficient, and there's a lot of opportunity there, guys. Thinking out of the box, you can make a big difference in the next years to come. And this is a big part of our evolution. So I own a company that's called Buddy Industries. So we behind the Buddy SuperApp and the Buddy Merchant app. I've got a guest house in the middle of town. So I'm also still in that, in my original career, Desert Sands. I've got an AirBNB Management entity where we run multiple properties in Swakopmund for people that own the properties on a portal, but also manage these units for the people. And one of the latest things we've done is we own a fractional investment entity, which allows anybody to own a fraction of anything. And this is also a big part of the evolution going forward, where you fractionize capital or property or literally a school, and somebody can own a portion of the school and trade that in the background, earning a profit from that. And you'll see that as you grow into your careers. Maybe the next slide. So sorry. I think the thing I want to leave today is, as an entrepreneur, and we'll go into the digital side of things just now, but the thing that stood out for me when I was sort of halfway along my career, I actually got they call it a bachelor. I worked for Coca-Cola many years, and they They kind of trained us in this. And they taught us this clever triangle that you see over here. And at the bottom part of the triangle is knowledge and skill. And so a lot of what you've been doing up to date is you've been building knowledge. You know, and the traditional school system is really still all about, let's parrot pump some information in your brains. But the modern school system, and this is where you guys are literally moving into, and I think which is what PSS is about, is letting you think outside of the box, or letting you think what to do with the box. So versus just having information pumped into your head. But knowledge is a key aspect of you sort of growing into whatever you want to do going forward, right? You need to learn to understand what it is that you're going to do. On the flip side, on the other side of this triangle, you've got skill. So some are born with skill, some learn skill, some grow into their skill. So the more you do something, Ausbildung in Deutschland, it hones a skill. And that's why it's so important, or why I think it's such a great thing, that if you can start young, and if you can start doing earlier, you start building a skill. Because often kids come from university, or not kids, then they're actually young adults, and they have a lot of knowledge, but they have no skill. So even in the tech world, I mean, in technology today, whether you're going to be a designer, a UX developer, a programmer, a scrum master, which is a project coordinator, if you just have knowledge, you're literally worth zero. You need to have an understanding of how to coordinate and put together a project, how to build an app, where to start, how to build a website, how to build a kiosk, how to prototype, how to bring something to life. So the earlier you can start building a business, whether you're going to work for somebody, whether you're going to study, whatever you're going to do, if I can leave this first part with you, is if you can start building a business very young, even if it's on the side. My first business was when I was 60, and it was called Idea Advertising. It didn't last very long, but it was an idea. And I created these little adverts on the placemats at Joe's Beer House. And I still remember myself running around with a suitcase, no car, and knocking at different businesses' doors to try and sell advertising space on these placemats, double-sided at Joe's Beer House. So first I had to speak to the owner, I had to put together a whole project plan, costing on the placemats. I did all of that. I got the suppliers, the information. Now I was selling. Big part of being an entrepreneur is selling. I was so scared. But it worked out. I literally sold all the spaces on the placemat. And I had checks. In those days, it was still checks. Most of the guys had paid me in checks. I don't even think you guys know what checks is. It's an instrument of payment, paper instrument where somebody has written what they owe you. I never cashed in those checks. I was too scared. I was too afraid to go ahead and commit to this business because I thought, oh my God, what if something goes wrong and I haven't done the right calculations and I owe somebody money or I don't have enough placements, etc. If I could do it over, I would have just done it because I would have learned from it, okay? And I would have grown from it, but I didn't. So the top part and the top attribute that I would hopefully plant with you, and if you can keep that, if you can grow on that single element in your life, you will always be successful, whatever you do. And what do you think that is? No. Thank you. It's your attitude. Have the right attitude. Keep building on your attitude. Your attitude is going to get you everything and anything that you want to have. But you need to have that attitude. You need to have that attitude to want to grow, to learn, and by attitude I mean not having a boss ego or having thinking a lot of yourself. It's having the attitude to want to succeed, having the attitude to build knowledge and skill. Okay, and you'll see as you grow and as you go through your lives, this little aspect attitude will pop up everywhere. Whatever you do, whether you're doing sports competitively, or for fun in your relationships later in your life, your attitude will be how well you succeed with whatever you do, okay? So this is my little triangle that I only learned halfway through my career, and if I'd learned that where I was with you, I wouldn't have made, I don't call them mistakes, but I wouldn't have done some of the turns that I did. So This is actually not my info. It comes from a mentor. So no, this is the wrong slide. Okay, they skipped it. So I don't think they put the information in it. So what it was there is a science to achievement, okay? And there's an art to fulfillment. That's very important for you guys to also take with if you can today. What's the difference between a science and an art? Who can tell me that? Exactly. Well done. So in science, there's a step-by-step process, and there's an understanding that we can all learn from and we can master. In art, it's up to the eye of the beholder. Beauty lies in the eye of the beholder, right? That's what it is. But if you can master these two elements in your life, and remember this, you will be profoundly happy. Again, you will be profoundly successful. In the science of achievement, you can literally study achievement. Okay, you can go and see how do we achieve. And what this guy did is he took some of the 50 top millionaires and billionaires, and he looked at what were the biggest qualities that all of these people carry, right? And whether they work for a company, whether they work for themselves, most of them work for themselves, but there's a definite science to that. And the core science is pretty much, the first part is you need to have a hunger. You need to have a hunger and a goal for what it is that you want. Just as you are sitting here now, maybe a bit confused, not exactly sure where you're going, but you have an idea. Now put that idea out there and be hungry to achieve that, okay? Let's not just go into it and we'll see after 3 years what happens. There is a process of achieving something if you place that goal out there. That's that hunger. Next to the hunger, and this is whatever you do, whatever project you start with, whatever business you're going to start, if you don't have the hunger, you will not succeed, okay? That's the science. The next step is drive, it's action, it's the force, it's the doing, okay? You need to do something to achieve something. We often talk a lot of people talk, very much. It's a very good skill of non-entrepreneurs. You'll see an entrepreneur always does, then talks. So if you can do, that is the biggest next step towards the science of a good achievement. And then the last thing is, and you'll learn that most probably later in life, depends how your parents conditioned you, how you've been taught. But a big part of getting, of receiving, of happiness, of joy, because that's what you should be chasing, is giving. If you can give, and giving comes in many forms, it doesn't have to be money, it can be your service, doctors. So many people give in who they are, in their service, in their business. If there's a real space of giving, then you will by definition and default be getting, okay? And that is because you might have all the money in the world, and some of these rich people had a lot of money, and it's great. Money is amazing because it opens many doors, allows you many things. But you could be empty at that last part. And emptiness comes that you don't know that there's no fulfillment behind who you are and what you do. And right now, where you are today, it's very important you follow your heart, your passion, you do what it is that is important to you, okay? And so I'm talking a lot about this. We'll get into the digital media just now, but I think this is important because for me, in your age, I wish I had heard these words because they would have planted an earlier seed of inspiration for me to grow successfully earlier. And then with art, that's exactly to the point. For each of you, it's going to be different. For each of you, it's going to be unique. Find that uniqueness for yourself. Don't look at your neighbor. Don't look at your friends. Don't look at your parents. Don't look at anything around you. Look at yourself and find the art of fulfillment inside of you. Okay? So maybe we can jump to the media slide. I guess this is the tech. So who here knows what digital media is? What are the elements that form into digital media? Who has a sense and a feeling of that? Yes.
Online communication.
It's part of it, yeah. Part of it. And communication is a good word because communication touches on most of the senses, remember? Sensory, you see, you hear, can even taste these days, touch, you know. It's a good perception. And what else? What are the elements that form digital media? What do you think of when you hear digital media? Yes.
Receiving information.
Okay. Just throw some ideas. Digital media. You can say like an app, a phone. What do you guys feel digital media is about? Come again? Social media, yeah. Okay. You know, the cloud. Telephone, yes. Good. These are all points. These are all touch points. But what do they get back to? Where does this all sit? Where does everything sit? There we go. The cloud, the internet, storage, a little server. Typically these days in Amazon. Serverless. That's where we are now. We're not even on local servers anymore in the cloud. We are on a fully serverless environment. Multi-structured servers all over the world. Bitcoin works like this. It runs a single transaction from 21 consecutive servers across the world, performing that transaction across each other, making sure that that transaction is correct, taking away the fraud element, making it more efficient. It's powerful. The guys that thought of that tech are next level genius. Okay, and this doesn't come from just sitting down at school desk. It comes from thinking deeply outside of the box. Tesla, who was at some points in his life marked as crazy, was a unique individual that thought outside of the box. And you are all Teslas, little Teslas, young Teslas, sitting here because you're moving into that space. You have the ability to create now, and we need to change. And technology, digital media, communication has the opportunity to change so much. It's so powerful today because a big part of our world now relies on it. It lives from it. I mean, I don't like using social media that much but it is a powerful medium of communication. It has shaped a big part of today's world. However, social media is changing a lot. Where there was a dominant space of a few big brands, you'll see that there's more cluster communities popping up now, niche communities that are more around trust or more around forming communication to niche interests versus this general information that's just pushed out there. And what's our biggest problem with social media or with the cloud or with the internet? What do you guys think? And also linked to communication. What is our biggest problem? Sorry? Not so much that.
Fake news.
Fake news. And exactly that. It's what is right and what is wrong, right? So there's so much information out there. How do we decipher what is right and what is wrong? And you'll see a lot of the structures and the elements changing into that space. So digital media, in my opinion, has so many aspects to it, and you can go into so many different environments. You can work in so many different levels, okay? It will take me almost a whole day to explain to you all the little elements and how each could be interesting to some of you and some of you not. For myself, I'm typically a project coordinator, so I specialize in understanding all of the elements. I understand the cloud and the server environment. I really have a good eye for the UX and the UI, so the process flow, which means how does something flow? How does information flow in an app? So when I press this, what happens here? How do I move from there to there? I have a very good knowledge and understanding of how to code it, how to bring it to life, because you have HTML, right, which is web-based technology, but then you have app tech, which is typically React or JS Node, a native development on applications and mobile phones. And you'll see today a lot of what's happening is everything is being built into an app. And you sitting there can already start building apps, and for the ones that are interested in that. And I would strongly suggest, that was going to be one of my next suggestions to you, is if you have an interest for digital media, start looking at start just typing in digital media into the browser, like start trying to build an app. Trying to build a website. You can build them, start on Wix. There's sites that literally, who's heard about Wix, right? Everybody, yeah. Okay. So Wix allows you to register a free account and literally bring to life a website in 5 minutes with a click and drag experience. So a few years from now, you will not need to code anymore. So my feeling, deep level coders, which is a great, strong skill that you can build, which means you understand the database technologies, meaning how is a database structured? A database is the underlying root where all of your information is stored. And if you build tech, everything sits on top of that tech, on top of that database. And if the database, your foundation, isn't built properly, if the structure isn't correct, and the connection of the database elements isn't correct, then your top frame, your house, your project, your website, your app, your vending machine, your coin, whatever you build, will not last. Okay, so there's a team that literally just specializes in building database structures and building the code set on top of database structures, right? And so as I grew up and started my journey, everything had to be done from scratch. You had to build and deploy the database, you had to put together the database. Today you have frameworks that literally run certain commands that bring to life the database in 2 minutes. And then you have framework, which means somebody's already written the code for you, where you can pretty much just write synopsis or small little code text that bring to life a whole code experience. But in your world, where you're moving into, like with Wix, you're going to be moving into a click and a drag and a drop and a drag environment, where behind the scenes, the database will be put together, the code is merged, and everything happens by clicking and drag. So, this being said, I think it's more favorable to move into a space where you're more like me versus the guy that's building the database or programming the database, or the person that's designing the UI UX. I mean, for typically a lot of times females are very good at it because they have an eye for something aesthetically looking good, and so UX and UI design is a very sought after job and responsibility. People get paid quite a lot of money for something to bring to life a good UX or UI, which means something that looks good and works good and flows good, okay? But most modern tools allow you already to have templates that you can just click and drag and pull together and bring to life a project very easily and conveniently. So my opinion is that the first thing you need to start doing if you are interested in digital media, like I said, there's the design element, there's the development element, there's the database element. But the position that I have, I think is the most interesting, obviously, that's why I have it, is you coordinate the different things, okay? So you coordinate the database developer, you coordinate the UX designer, but you speak to the customer, okay? You understand the business need, you work with the business or the company that needs some kind of requirement, and trust me, every single company, restaurant, coffee shop, big corporate, small corporate, hookah shop, whoever it is, has technology working for them in some or other way. I mean, our latest development, our latest product literally sits in your hand and allows you to facilitate a payment, a card payment, a bank payment from your phone. So somebody can just tap the phone or the card on the phone and instantly that business has money. At the same time, that phone sells airtime, electricity, lotto. You see how that product empowers the small hookah shop, the shabin, but also the coffee shop. So any business in today's world will have some kind of aspect and some kind of reliance on technology. Their booking software, their management software, their marketing software, their communication software, and to your original point. And I guess so very well said there. It's all about communication. And if you enjoy communication, then digital media or digital marketing or digital technology is definitely, you know, in that space. Maybe I can leave some questions now, if you have some specific questions that are of interest to you. Sure. Not at all. So, good question. IT stands for information technology, and in Namibia as well, typically, if you do web hosting or web development, they say you're doing IT, right? But that's not true. It's not IT. IT is typically the guy that does the networking, the hardware inside of a business. Okay, so he sets up he works with the hardware and the tools that the technology, the communication, the software run on. And if you're going to be in design, if you're going to be in prototyping, even if you're going to be in development, you don't need to know anything about IT. There's value to it, to understand how a PC is working and why does it have a processor and a motherboard and RAM. Because let's be honest, who knows what is software? Where did it start? What is software? Can you tell me the very basics of software? And that will answer your question as well. Who knows the word? Starts with a B. Binary. And what is binary? Ones and zeros, exactly. And everything is ones and zeros. Ones and zeros telling the processor what to do. So, and code is just built on top of code, on top of code, on top of code to just tell the next level and the next level and the next level what to do with the ones and zeros, right? If this, then that. So a whole sort of protocol online that allows you to build multifaceted automation in your house. Automation for your home, for your garage, for your business, where you can say, if this email comes in, then send this or trigger this SMS. And if this SMS goes in, then switch on the light and. So often also in the tech world, and I'll get to finalize your question just now, is you have to think three-dimensionally, ahead of time and not just in front of you. You have to think what happens when all of these little elements interconnect with each other, and also if something scales, because in the world of technology and with communication, if there's a lot of traffic on your product, you need to understand that something needs to be scalable and it needs to handle that scalability. But to your question, you don't need to know anything about IT. Yes?
So what happens if we do not have electricity?
In which respect, ma'am?
In the digital media, because you need to charge your phone, you need to have something.
Yeah. So exactly, and I think what you see today, interesting enough, is a lot of innovation, a lot of technology is working around sustainable energy, solar, wind. Tesla worked on magnetism, and I think that's where a lot of innovation, evolution will happen. So you'll see in South Africa where they have a lot of these challenges, and through challenges, that's why some of the best innovators, technology experts in the world sit in Southern Africa, right? Because a lot of times we have a lot of challenges, we have a lot of problems, and through problems and challenges, we need to innovate. So what happens in South Africa, you'll see a lot of businesses, a lot of households have started innovating. It started with a generator, a lot of them now have solar, and most of these solar grids completely now go and take over. A lot of business innovation has happened with solar. So somebody comes in, finances the whole solar system. See how clever this business is, and instantly making money. The guy that thought of this finances the solar system. It's just batteries, guys, and some panels on the roof, right? Puts it all together, plugs it in the wall, and now he charges half of what your electricity bill usually is. What do you think the clients say? I like that business, right? And his little solar business, his equipment, his work, his installation is paid off in 6 months. What happens after 6 months? He's thriving, he's making money. Whoever created this business. And the person, and to your point, the innovation keeps the power on. And in the world of the big servers, the Amazons, that's why we say serverless. Code never anymore sits on one single space. It sits everywhere. So it's literally moving into multi-dimensional, almost multiverse sort of experiences. Any other questions? Yes. Sure. That's a good question. And most probably I'm the wrong guy. Should have come maybe more prepared for that. Because for me it was, please don't hear the wrong things I'm saying here. It's very important to have good grades and the right subjects and go to the right school. Because the school can teach you the right processes, the right protocols, and the right things. For my teaching and how I learned was through doing, right? And so I was thrown in the deep water, but my attitude, my passion, my drive for what I wanted to learn taught me. So I learned everything online, right? I literally, and then by doing it, and the people that were around me. I know in South Africa there's quite a few universities, especially in Cape Town, Stellenbosch, that now specialize in multimedia, in digital media, but multimedia at first. They were at one stage only focusing on what they called multimedia, which was the design, the UX element, but that's moved into digital media now. But I cannot at this point give you the right answers for that question. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know, and you know, that's for a school. So I would say, and again, it depends on the. Remember, I studied BCom marketing. So what I studied, I never used for technology. Right, marketing was my degree, and so it was economics, it was accounting, it was all the traditional stuff. And I can imagine a big part of what you're going to study is in that space, right? If you go into design and UX, there's going to be development, there's going to be your robotics or coding. They do have an entry-level code that takes you to the next level, I just say, what you learn in school, you can learn very quickly at home if you have the right passion. But maybe what I should do is, when I go back this afternoon, I can send some information, right? Because a lot of the guys that work for me have actually studied this, and I can ask them, what do they suggest? And then I can share that information. My salary, I don't pay myself a salary. I live off the company, so I don't pay myself. Yeah, I pay other people, but it's good. It's definitely good. So and I don't have one. That's why I created multiple businesses that create multiple income streams. So like through COVID, my hotel, my boutique B&B wasn't doing great, but my other businesses sustained, right? And then I brought to life some other businesses through those challenging times that now even more support. So I don't have one salary. I make sure that my business entity gets multiple different income streams. Yes, please, ma'am.
Maybe it's not a specific subject, but maybe it's back to the attitude. Yeah. So whichever subject you are doing at school, is the attitude for which you do.
100%. That's a very good answer. And yeah, thanks for listening earlier. But I mean, again, if you have the right attitude, and at the time when I was doing my degree in marketing was all I wanted to do. That's what I thought I wanted, marketing. I didn't even know about digital media or technology. And so my attitude was, I'm going to do this very well. And so, but I did my marketing degree while working during the day. So I did it at night. And it was also that for me, that was good and right. So while I was working for Coca-Cola. I started to learn, and I was working in marketing and sales. And so I could definitely directly apply what I was learning through the books. So the theoretical parts, I could learn practically and apply it. And I did that well. And only later in life, I changed to learning tech and development. Yeah, okay, time. Okay, so last question maybe. Yes.
Now, I just want to add something. You guys were all here on Monday morning when you started this the career week, right? What was the message you got from Monday morning? Happiness over money. Would you say you have that?
Definitely.
You started like that. And the
both.
other word was?
Both. You can have both, remember.
And I think that was, and I think the other word was passion as well. And today we learned about attitude. But I just want to say, I think we left the best for last. Or it was such a beautiful way. And you guys, thank you so much for staying for the last one. Some of you were forced to do it. Others, I think you learned such a beautiful lesson out of here. Wilko doesn't even care about the subjects and things like that. It's about what you want to do and breaking in the end for yourself. And I really hope that that was the overall message you got from this is whatever you do, all these things we saw during the week, everything, well, it comes down to what we saw in the previous couple of slides there about attitude and things like that. But that, I think that you have to have the skill. And guys, what you have that Wilko said and a few other people also said is you have time on your side. Stop spending it on your phone unless you're creating tech or whatever, I don't know, an app or whatever. But start reading, start creating ideas and passion. Wilko, this is not the last time I saw you.
Awesome.
I just want to tell you, wait.
No, awesome. No, it's exciting. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
And you in Swakopmund?
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing, okay. Any other questions?
Awesome.
You want to go home?
Yeah. No.
You guys think you have the right attitude.
Thank you so much.
Anytime. Good luck, guys. Good luck.
Okay, guys.